I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
Well, what if the greatest tragedy isn't failing at something, but never answering the call of your soul that your soul keeps whispering to you? There's a powerful example of this that I like about Howard Thurman. Early in his life, Thurman was torn between the security of a prestigious academic career and the pull of spiritual activism and contemplative leadership. For a time, he tried to stay in this intellectual work, believing that that was where he was most helpful. But his soul kept whispering to him, calling him to something greater. And eventually, he listened. He answered the call. And this path as a mystic, as a theologian, and a mentor to Martin Luther King Jr. unfolded for him. And his life became a bridge between the inner world of spirit and the outer world of justice. He demonstrated spiritual activism by engaging with the world's injustices, not only through protest or through policy, but through deep spiritual grounding, bringing this inner transformation, this inner message that he was getting out into the world. For Truman, this meant living from a contemplative place, while addressing racism, poverty, violence. And his work laid the foundation for the civil rights movement, influencing a young Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. carried Thurman's message of nonviolent resistance and inner public leadership. Thurman believed that real transformation begins from within. His teachings offered a way to stay rooted in love while challenging oppression with clarity and courage. Imagine what we would have missed if he didn't align his heart, his soul, and his mind with this vision. He tried to stay in the safety of intellectual work for a time, believing that that was where he was most helpful. But his soul kept whispering, calling him to something greater. He wrote, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." And his words echo this truth to us. And for this reason, for this time, our souls are calling us into this mission, into this vision as well. Have you ever missed an important call? right? Maybe you had your phone on silent. Oh, if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that. And you might miss a call, but I promise you, you can come back later, because just like your soul, you can talk to those people later. Your soul is always calling you forward. Maybe you looked at the screen and you thought, oh, I don't want to talk to this person right now. Or maybe I'm not ready, or I just don't want to talk. Right? But anybody ever been there? Right? Spiritually speaking, we do this all the time. The call of our soul rings and it rings and it rings and it rings and it rings. And sometimes we send it straight to voicemail. So the title of this talk today is You Are the Answer You Have Been Waiting For. You know, I've had moments when I knew I was being called to something greater. You? I've had moments when it was like, I hear the phone ringing, but I'm not quite ready to answer. I said, not yet, or I felt like there was doubt, or I felt like I didn't have what it would take to make that happen. I tried to be reasonable and reason my way out of it. I made pro and con list. I asked everybody else for advice. You? Except my inner being. I remember a time I was living in this house in Pacifica. We called it the Carmel House. It was when I was in junior college, and there were 6 of us living in this house. One person upstairs in the garage, one person downstairs in the garage, and another 4 of us in the rest of the house. It was kind of cool because my rent was like $65 a month, right? And we had one bathroom, and for all 6 of us, right? And we had chairs outside the bathroom. So if you came and it was busy, you could sit and wait. Fortunately, my bedroom was right across the hall from the bathroom. And in this house were some real characters, some people I'm still friends with today, some who aren't on this planet anymore. But there were 2 people in this house who were amazing guitar players, right? And I have always loved music, and I've always loved guitar. And both of these people said they would teach me how to play guitar. And I said, no thanks. I'm too busy. I'm going to school. I had a million excuses. And as you know now, I love music. I play the ukulele for fun with a band that's appropriately titled Loud and Lousy. And we are all of that and take pride in that. In fact, we've turned gigs down because it will require us to not be able to play the way we like to play. But I have had regrets about that, about not taking the opportunity back then to learn how to play guitar. Right? That was 30 or more years ago. I don't even want to count. Who can count at this age? And I'm thinking, what kind of a guitar player could I be now if I had been playing for 30 years? Wow. I got the call, and I didn't answer it. And in the same way, the soul's call doesn't always show up with neon lights and booming voices. Sometimes it's as simple as an invitation. Do you want to? But sometimes we ignore it, right? And when we do, there's no punishment, right? We get the opportunity sometimes later on to wish that we had done something that we didn't choose to do. No punishment, just the quiet ache of what could have been. And the good news is, of course, is that the soul keeps on calling. It was going to ring again. It's going to call you again. Will you answer? You know, the soul doesn't always shout. More often it whispers. It nudges. It tugs at your heart. You might feel restless, right? You might feel kind of a longing for something else. And there might be a deep knowing. It's like, oh, I know there's a possibility here. Ever felt that? It's like it's this subtle knowing that says, you can do this. You have the ability to do this. And it often appears when everything seems fine on the outside. But there's some kind of a aching in the heart, inside. The truth is, you are the answer you've been waiting for. I am the answer I've been waiting for. You are the answer you've been waiting for. I am the answer I've been waiting for. Say that with me. I am the answer I've been waiting for. Yes, you are the answer. You know, listening to the soul isn't always logical, right? It's not always about being able to figure things out. It's really about trust. It's about opening up, getting rid of the resistance, and allowing yourself to be led. And it takes practice. It takes silence. It takes a willingness to slow down long enough to hear the guidance. I like the story of Samuel where did he go? You know, one time when I was doing this talk, I did the same thing. The wind changed my pages, and I was like, wait a minute. Is that my soul's guidance? All right, let's get caught up here. All right, here we go. So, now I feel it. So, how does the soul speak to us? How does your soul speak to you? I think it speaks through intuition, through imagination, through compassion, through creativity, and even discomfort. So, when your soul speaks to you through intuition, what is that like? Right? It might show up as kind of a gut feeling, right? Or a feeling that something just isn't right. Or you're feeling called to go a certain direction, but it doesn't seem logical. The soul can also show up through imagination. It may come in the form of daydreams, right? And I hope you're not having those daydreams right now. Actually, that's not true. I hope you are having those daydreams right now. That your imagination is pulling on you and saying, this is a possibility for you. Imagine this. It's a vision. Something lights up. And these scenes play again and again in your mind. The soul can also speak through compassion. Right? All of a sudden you feel this ache inside you to be of service. Right? To be a healer. To be a lover. To make a difference where others may look away. You ever felt that? It's like, you know there's something in you that says you have the ability, you have the power, you are here to make a difference. Sometimes The soul speaks to us through creativity, right? When we're doing something creative and all of a sudden, you know how you know if you're there? You're doing something creative and what disappears? Time. Right? It's like time disappears. It's like, wow. I get together with Loud and Lousy and we play for 2.5 hours and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, we've been doing this for 2.5 hours. Can you believe it? But we're lost in that creative essence, in that amazing place. Anybody experience that with any kind of creativity of being just you're there, right? Whether you're painting or you're whatever you might be doing, and all of a sudden, wow, where did the time go? And the soul also speaks through discomfort. There was a time in my life when I felt something didn't feel right for me, right? The people that were my friends, all of a sudden I wasn't resonating with them, right? They weren't getting me, I wasn't getting them, and it's like, oh, something's got to change. And about that time, of course, I discovered Unity in California, right? And we get on the spiritual path, and things change for us, right? Ever happen? Anybody else that happened to? And all of a sudden you realize, I got to do something different. This isn't working. Being around judgmental people who are doing alcohol and drugs constantly, that wasn't my bag. It was, but it was when I realized that I had to leave that behind because my soul was calling me towards something different. 10 years later, I became a Unity minister. So something shows up. It's persistent and calling us forward to break free and to heal. Your soul is calling you right now, I know. Because when we're on this journey, our soul calls us constantly. And unfortunately, it's not always convenient. I hate that part, right? The soul's truth doesn't always come with a detailed itinerary and a guaranteed outcome, right? It just asks you to leap into the air where there's no net. Isn't that great? Don't you just love that part, right? It calls us to step out and trust in faith, even though there's no plan ahead of it. So much about this spiritual path is by stepping out into the unknown. Even when it challenges us, it guides us to a greater alignment, to a greater truth, to a greater wisdom. And that truth begins to pull us forward. Most of us are trained to look outside for answers. We think it's as if we think somebody else has our map, right? And nobody has your map but you, but your soul, but your spirit. We consult experts, we read books, we binge on podcasts, and don't get me wrong, these things are good. I think that they're all part of accessing divine wisdom as long as we're paying attention and seeing, how am I being pulled? How is this touching me? Sometimes we don't hear the call because we're too busy, we're too afraid, we're too wrapped up in our story, right? We believe that we're not enough, we don't have the ability. We're hoping that somebody else will hand us the key. But the truth is, what you are looking for, you already have. You are the answer you've been looking for. Here's where I was a minute ago. I skipped that whole piece. All right, so I love the story of Samuel from 1 Samuel chapter 3. And remember Samuel, he hears a voice in the night. And he thinks it's Eli the priest. And he's going, Is that you, Eli? Eli, is that you? And he hears this small voice that says, no, it's me. And he realizes it was God. It was Spirit. And when he gets a clarity, he says, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. Are you ready to listen? Are you ready to listen? Metaphysically, this is a story about learning to recognize divine guidance. It's about making the shift from confusion to clarity, from noise to knowing. Samuel had to be willing to pause, to listen, and recognize that the voice wasn't coming from out here, it was coming from in here. How often have we mistaken our soul's voice for someone else's opinion, or dismissed it as wishful thinking? Samuel's vision reminds us that we can connect directly into that voice and hear that voice. There's another story that I like that I discovered in the process of writing this talk, and it's this one from a Lakota tradition that echoes Samuel's experience and reminds us that the call of Spirit crosses all spiritual paths. Long ago, during a time of great hunger and hardship, 2 scouts from a Lakota tribe were sent out to look for food. As they walked across the plains, they met a mysterious figure. One scout was overcome with her beauty and his desire, and he approached her with disrespect. And he was immediately enveloped in a cloud and disintegrated. Now that's what wrong thinking will get you. Humbled and reverent, the other scout fell to his knees in front of this woman, this image of white buffalo calf woman, a divine messenger. She entrusted the respectful scout with sacred messages. She taught that all life is sacred and interconnected. She gifted the people with a sacred pipe, a symbol of harmony, prayer, and the union of opposites. Through the pipe, she shared a way to pray, to honor Spirit, and to live in balance. She also prophesied the return of the white buffalo as a sign of transformation and renewal. Like Samuel, this story reminds us that sacred guidance often comes in unexpected forms. It asks for our attention, asks for our humility, asks for our willingness to listen, to learn. Right? Spirit speaks through a whisper in the night, or sometimes a holy vision. The question is, are we listening? So here are a few tools you can use to help you answer the call. And the first one is through meditation and stillness. To take time to hear the whisper. Or if you get a nudge, to say, okay, I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to take time to discover what this is. You might say, what does my soul want me to hear? What does my soul want me to hear? Another thing that works for a lot of people is journaling. And again, we're asking questions. You might journal and ask, where am I being called to grow? You think you have any place to grow? We all do, don't we? And one of the most powerful ways is through affirmative prayer to kind of set the stage, open our consciousness to be able to listen. And I particularly like this affirmation, which is the wisdom of spirit moves through me now. And affirming that we are hearing, that we're listening, that we are operating from that spiritual consciousness. And the last one is our soul offers us the ability to take inspired action, to take one small step in the direction of that which we desire. You know, sometimes we think, I don't hear the answer, I'm not clear on it, I don't know what to do, and so the soul is saying, just take one step. Just take one step in the desire or in the direction of that which you desire. If it doesn't work, come back and take another step. So often we give up or we say, it's not working for me. Take a step. Move forward. You know, I think that our spiritual journey is always calling us to move forward, to step in the direction of that which we desire. You know, you might say, well, what if I do if I feel stuck? What do I do? And I think that the key is to start with stillness, to be in the stillness, kind of going back to basics, and just spend 5 minutes a day listening. What is it my soul wants to tell me? And the second thing we can do is to write it out, to write down on paper, to ask the question, like I said a moment ago with journaling, why do I feel stuck? What do I need to know? Who am I being called to be? And then to do one thing with great love. So, you know, when you answer the call, it's not always easy. Sometimes it means walking away from something that's familiar. Sometimes it brings us seasons of deep uncertainty where the path forward seems foggy and the rewards aren't immediate. And yet, these very moments of struggle are often where the most growth happens, right? Ever notice that? Oftentimes in our lives, the things that are most difficult offer us the biggest chance for healing and transformation. So let me ask you a challenge you for this week, and that is to ask you, where are you feeling the call of your soul right now? What's calling you? What is calling you right now? Are you feeling a desire? What have you been avoiding, postponing, or pretending not to know? What would it look like to say yes to this calling? What would it look like? What would it feel like for you to follow this calling? I listen deeply. I trust fully. I answer the call of my soul. I am the answer I've been waiting for. Say that with me. I listen deeply. I trust fully. I answer the call of my soul. I am the answer I've been waiting for. Your soul isn't waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to be present. The call is already ringing. So go ahead. Pick it up. Because the world needs more people who are fully alive. And that is you. Breathing in and breathing out. Going to that place of your heart. The place where your soul speaks to you. Breathing in, breathing out. So where are you feeling the call of your soul? Perhaps your soul is reminding you of the love that you are. Reminding you of the gifts and the joy and the true essence of your beingness. And what is that calling you into today? Might be simple. Being more love. Being at more peace. Experiencing more joy. Finding opportunities to bring healing. To bring love, to bring light. Might be a call to take care of this amazing vessel in which your soul exists. Maybe it's just to hold the space for joy, for peace, for love. What can you say yes to today? And let's rest for a moment in the silence. Breathing in and breathing out. Feeling the love and the peace and the joy of your soul. To know that your soul has got you. You are all that you need to be right now. You are, we are the ones we've been waiting for. I invite you to bring your awareness slowly and gently back into this moment. Breathing in and breathing out. To open your eyes, to be present, to be here. So it is. So with all that being said, so for ourselves, for this ministry, for peace in our planet and in our country, why don't we stand and pray and affirm together the prayer for protection, which begins, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Thank you for being here. Thank you, folks, watching us on Facebook Live.